Welcome to the July 8th board meeting for APA. I hope everyone's doing well and enjoying the summer warm weather and activities of what's going on here. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. First thing on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. First thing on the agenda here is, can I get approval of the agenda as presented this evening?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Anyone signed up for public comments this evening? Thank you for that. Next on the agenda here, thank you, is the approval of our minutes from our meeting that was held on June 3rd for APA here. It should be in your board packet. You can go over that for a second here and go forward from there. All right.
I am prepared to make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented to us in the board package, with a caveat that in case we do find a stray misspelling or something, we can go ahead and correct that technical glitch later. I didn't see any.
Thank you. I didn't see anything either.
Pay attention to the curving lines. I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the CEO report as presented this evening here. It should be in your packet here, so you can have a couple minutes here and we'll go look through that. All right. I'm gonna get a motion to approve the CEO report as presented.
I'll make, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the July 2025 CEO report.
And I'll be glad to second to that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions, anything?
So if I read your section on possible cuts in the titles, federal special ed, either federal, state, or both, right now, our budget for next year is as good as any number, but, so nothing actually has been settled that would reduce that further, but it could be, it could.
Right, and the biggest concern, it's not the Title I, or the federal SPED, those
Mhm.
stayed intact within the big beautiful bill. The problem is there was a group of, I think 26 programs or so, that last fiscal budget for the federal government was about $6.5 billion. And included in that grouping was Title II and Title IV. If you see it in the news, they talk about, for teacher professional development, that's really Title
That's
II.
Title, II, okay.
Yeah, but it can be used for a lot of different
Yeah,
things. And then
yeah.
Title IV is more for student well-being and
Okay,
programming
yeah,
it that way.
mhm.
They're wording it that way.
Mhm.
And so, in the last federal budget, Title II alone was $2.2 billion for an allocation. And now, all those 26 programs and the, I think, 8 that remain have all been reduced down to $2 billion total. So
Mm.
there's $4.5 billion that was removed from those programs. Title II and Title IV still exist. Title III is gone, as far as I understand. Title III is for English language learners, which does
Oh, okay,
align with
yeah.
current federal
And you, I think, noted
priorities.
in there we were in some kind of consortium because we didn't qualify for whatever Title III was still, available.
Yeah, so right now, it's anybody's guess on which program stayed closer to intact or not. But knowing just Title II by itself was $2.2 billion, you have to assume it's gonna be a significant cut for the states. So I'm sure people have seen in the news where the federal government is currently withholding federal funds from many states. And Indiana hasn't come out and said, hey, us too, but they haven't also come out and said, no, we're good, guys. They have pushed us to comply, sign assurances, do a lot of things to prepare, and our state administration does seem to be pretty aligned with the federal administration on the same path. So I'm hopeful that we are doing the things we need to as a state to not jeopardize our federal funding, but you never know. We did, as a state, the departments of ed all get evaluated, and in the past, Indiana's typically always in trouble for something. And we did get a kudos from the federal government on something. The state sent that out. And so, hopeful, but that doesn't change what the allocation could be. So, right now for us, I think I included in there is about $95,000 on the 25-26 budget that we approved. And so.
Between Title II and IV.
Right,
Yeah.
between those two, and Title II is the $67,000 one.
Yeah, that's the bigger,
It's
yep,
the bigger.
for sure, yeah.
And so, if I had to guess off of the pattern we see, Title II will be reduced less than Title IV.
Oh.
Because Title IV is more into that social emotional learning, and some of the things that both the state and federal administrations want schools to kind of back away from right now, along with the DEI initiatives and everything. But Title II, I feel like it's obviously going to be reduced, but if I had to guess, it's gonna be reduced less
Well, that's
percentage-wise.
good, because that's more dollars. I don't think Title IV has ever been over maybe 38, 40 tops.
Yeah,
It
it's not
would-
even that, yeah.
It will affect the services for, I'm sure, kids that need it,
Yeah.
but dollar-wise, that is to our benefit.
Yeah, so, and that's, in the grand scheme of things, right, $95,000 in our $10 million budget, not extremely huge, except that money goes directly to student services and staffing. And there's not a lot of other areas that we could pull from. So we're gonna have to just write it out and see what happens, and just know, like, Semper Gumby is something that I say around here, where we're always flexible, right? I know there's not a lot of people anymore outside of this room probably that know who Gumby is, but it works
do
for
not.
us. So that's kind of where we're at on that. I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware, and
Yeah.
no matter what happens, I guarantee we have to amend our budget just to make sure that we are being as accurate as possible.
Yeah, that's been a rarity, although we've had to do that, I think 2 or 3 times here recently, but one does have to, I mean, there's no point in having a budget if whether for good or bad, the figures don't reflect reality. There's no management tool benefit to be derived, I guess, from that, so.
Yeah, and we do at least know that our state funding is what it is, right? Like, that's established. So we know what the ADM is going to be. We know what our complexity index funding is going to be. We know what our anticipated SPED funding is going to be. We also know what our anticipated count funding is going to be for SPED. So at least that budget, was passed at the state level, but we do have over $1 million in federal funds that we work with, which, really 30% of our income is there. So we will just write it out and do the thing.
Okay. Let's see, you're talking, a small technical question. I know we don't get any, the textbook reimbursement, which used to be a separate line item, and we have one annual payment, which may or may not have covered our actual cost.
Not even close.
That's part of the basic, and I believe you indicated that all or most of the difference in the complexity formula, in other words, between about 32%, 39%, was because of the integration of the textbook reimbursement. If it was 100%, that would be about $178,000 for textbook replacement, which is more than I think we got about $122,000 this year. But was that 100%, do you think, or would it be a lesser amount than that?
It's a lesser amount than that. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Because there's always been that murky question with the schools, with the free textbooks to the kids. Is what we're getting from the state actually enough to cover our cost? And it's kind of hard to pin that down.
Oh, I can pin that down, no.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
It is not,
close.
okay.
So this is one of the things, they did a study on this, which is why they've started to backtrack. So going into the last biennium, they told us we could not charge textbook fees or basically hardly any fees whatsoever. And this answers one of your questions there too.
Oh, yeah.
And relates to
You've
CEO
answered
report.
several.
Look at that.
Which is good.
But they said no fees basically, except for like these very limited ones. Knowing our history with fees and collection and all of those things, right? That was where we chose, we're gonna take them back as far as we can. And even going into the 24-25 school year, we just didn't have them outside of those extra parts like athletics and whatnot. And so that's part of our student fees, right? We don't really have them now. Well, when they had us complete a survey about how much per child we spend each year on curricular resources. So for a textbook, and it gets a little murky with all online stuff now too, to count, it can be the computer, that, the delivery system. It can also be the software that we purchase, because a lot of our textbooks are in a digital space. And so for us as a school, we spend about $750 annually per child on curriculum, including their computer. Now that's not the full price of the computer, that's a computer divided by 4, so that it's that usable life cycle. And other schools reported that they spent less than $100 on it, and I don't know who filled out their form. I'm like, hi, can I talk to you guys, because the state was offering us, I think we got $150 $51 or something per kid, which is actually more than we'd gotten previously with textbook reimbursements. So we were happy. But a cost of a actual true textbook, especially for like an AP class, is almost $200 for one class. Now, of course, because of the rental, you divide it through its, useful life cycle. But if you take a high schooler who is taking, 16 classes a year or 16 semesters, the 150 is not cutting it whatsoever. And so that's why the state was like, no, we're going to increase it. We're just going to toss it all into the ADM, and then, oh, you can start charging for a few fees here and there, and they're doing this because their intention was to take a hidden tax away from families because school fees are expensive. But they can't supplement that reduction. And so that's kind of where they've built that in. For us, the complexity increase doesn't impact the textbook portion.
Okay.
That's just what we get because of our percentage of low-income families.
Okay.
But it did increase our funding. And so there's probably about $130 per kid in there for the curriculum piece too. With that
We
ADM.
didn't pick up much more then.
No. So, but yeah, that's kind of where that is, and that's all tied into this uncertainty with the other funding and all that. And so, again, we will just write it out because you don't have much of another choice.
Yeah.
It's all right. We do well figuring out other approaches.
Any other further discussion at all? I saw there was a couple of windows were unfortunately damaged. To just
Yeah.
stuff
Two
there.
large
Some windows and
objects,
stuff like
I
that.
believe, thrown
Yeah.
through, or
Yeah, the irony a little
two
bit.
boulders.
I
Your
feel like a
boulder?
boulder for the upstairs one. We had an Eagle Scout do a project several years ago to put bricks around the flagpole out there. When the city came in and redid all of those corners, they had torn up some of the bricks and loosened it. And so one of those bricks was used to toss at our window. Fortunately, with the downstairs one, it only went through the exterior pane, although when driving by, you have a little bit of a panic attack because it looks like it's all the way through. But the upstairs one, I mean, honestly, we don't fully know who did this, but they have got quite an arm on them to be able to launch it and get it through two panes at that angle. I mean, if it wasn't so costly, disrespectful, and all of that stuff, that'd be an impressive throw. So there's that, but there was damage to other homes and things in the neighborhood during that time period. We did have some security footage of it, and I know the police were going to review Payless's portable guy out there, but there's a lot of things going on in the city and community.
How
so.
much scanning coverage do we have? On television, all the detective shows, I mean, they've got every square inch, it seems like, with a camera on it. How much coverage like that do we have around our buildings, if any?
We have pretty good coverage, actually,
okay.
and that's part of, I put in the SSSG grant to add some more, because every time something happens, we're like, oh, now we need this new angle or that new angle. But that's something that we have done over the last several years, is updating, assessing blind spots, getting those covered indoors and outdoors, as well as updating some analog to the digital cameras. We still have some work to do there, but we have made leaps and bounds in that area. So for the most part, we have pretty good eyes in places, especially where our students are going to be. So the back parking lot, out on the pre-academy side as well, same at the elementary. But we have more room to grow there. So fingers crossed on the Homeland Security grant.
Yeah.
But yes, the windows, that was a nice little slap in the face.
Yeah.
Thanks. Those are big. They're expensive.
Now, on that security grant, let's see, it's a matching. Does that mean if we spend 100,000, they give us 100,000. Basically, is how that works. Okay, well, that's a pretty good deal then. If we, assuming we got 100,000 to spend, but
Yeah, and that's one where we work those in to the allowable expenses within the grant, that
Mhm.
most of them are expenses we already were going to be
having anyhow,
Right.
yeah.
So that counts as the match, because it's showing our commitment to school safety and all of that. So-
Well, every grant, I believe, has, I mean, we have to be pretty much approved by legislation or by submitting a plan as to what we're gonna do with it, so.
Mhm.
Oh, it's not like we have grant money being handed to us that we can sort of do whatever we please, so.
Oh no, there's a ton of scrutiny there.
Yeah, so I guess the taxpayer should be pleased with that anyways. Yeah, I don't have any other questions on the CEO report, but a good assessment of the funding situation for us there.
Thank you. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that CEO report, Jill, for that. Next, financial reports, for the approval of the board treasury report and the approval of the monthly financials for April. So I'll turn the floor over to you, Dave.
Okay, let's see, I think everybody has a copy of our, the notes here that I have made, and I think I sent those out sometime over the weekend, so there may be some additional discussion or details in there that I'm not planning on covering here today, so look at that at your leisure. Let's see, greetings to Sandy, who is with us this evening. Oh, there, she heard me. Okay, she's online with us. Okay, familiar format here, and hopefully everybody's pretty well familiar with how I set this up. But the first thing that we always do is we ask ourselves the question, what has changed since our last board meeting? And the last set of numbers we had were projected year end for the end of April. And so now we have the projected numbers based on actuals through May the 31st. And you can see that there have been a few changes, mostly under income, and the changes are good, actually. We're thinking we will pick up about $117,000 income more by year end. And of course, you can compare how we are doing to our amended budget, which we did, I believe, in December. And then there at the tail end, had to shrink the print just a bit, but you can compare our budget for next year with what we think we're going to do this year, and I guess draw your own conclusions there. The good news is that we did shrink our projected year-end cash loss a bit. We've got it down to $217,000, and of course, one could make, I think, a persuasive argument that because of the facilities grant, the timing mismatch, you could argue that in reality we probably were well above break even if all of that had occurred within a 12-month period. And the very good news is we're looking at an ending cash balance of $575,000 some dollars, which is $111,000 better than what we thought last month, and is sure a lot better than where we thought we'd be in December, which was down about $240,000. And of course, we're sort of constrained to produce a break-even budget. So if we actually did hit all of those numbers right on the money, basically the 575 would carry through the end of next year. So we should rejoice at that. I thought you might pick up some of that in our CEO report, but I did give a little verbiage to that in my pre-meeting report. What our good fortune here was basically, again, because of COVID, we do owe a lot to not the pandemic, but the government relief efforts as a result. But the employee retention credit, or ERC, plus accrued interest, which we did receive in May from the IRS, I believe, or Department of Treasury most likely, total $282,000, and that accounts for just about all of the improvement from last meeting to this meeting. And again, I don't want to, I'll give you a little bit of detail on the ERC. Initially, not tax exempt, which would be us as a school, and businesses had initially the choice under the CARES Act of either go with the PPP payroll protection or the ERC tax credit. So we, as I read the literature on it, we did qualify whether we filed for it or not at the time. They did change that very shortly after, but a lot of people didn't file for it when it first came out because of that initial ruling. But gee, I lost my train of thought there. That happens a lot anymore. Every time I have a birthday, it seems I got another one.
I'm sure
I got
there's
another
no
one coming up
coincidence.
in August, so who knows what I'll forget by then. But anyhow, we are eligible to receive it again, whether we filed for it or not, because we are tax exempt, and we did lose either partial or full time periods because of government regulation and intervention. So I'm satisfied that we did qualify for it, no question. And the IRS says they were a little slow in processing that. I think their official reasoning was that we're investigating a lot of fraud in the some of the overall COVID relief, which is unfortunate that there is any fraud, because that just hurts all of us. And that gives people an excuse to say, well, if there was that much fraud, maybe we just cut back on the funding. So we hate to hear that. But at any rate, they did get around to that. So if you want any more detail, read what I wrote a couple days ago in my pre-meeting report, because I can't remember the rest of it. But anyhow,
That's all right.
not important. And we've answered some of this here in the CEO report. Basically, we got $289,000 we weren't expecting and certainly wasn't budgeted. But that was offset by what we're thinking is going to be about $143,000 reduction in our Title I, mostly Title I, some federal special ed. So again, that sort of offset the good fortune, but the good news is that 575 gives us a solid cash to work with in the future, and hopefully we can keep building it and get back up where we used to be many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Go
I
ahead.
will interject
Sure.
because you did have that in your report on the questions. So with the SPED in the Title I, those aren't actually reductions in our funding. It's a difference in the timing. So we used to, so let's say we got $430,000 for the Title I grant.
Mhm.
It's actually a 2-year grant,
Mhm.
but in the past, we always spent that amount in year 1 because there would be another biannual grant coming.
Mhm.
When we got all of the COVID relief funding, it wasn't possible to spend all of that
Yeah.
funding and that.
So we had some carry forward.
So we had carryover.
50,000 one year, I think.
Yeah, and we had more so this year, going into the fiscal year the year that just ended.
Uh-huh.
And so now, what we see in the budget is no carryover
Right.
included.
I remember you telling us
Just
that.
that allocation. So
Mhm.
it's not necessarily a reduction in funding, just
Mhm.
timing.
Yeah, really, since most everything it's actually, it's a reimbursement for us, although, I guess, some kind of income.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with a reimbursement, obviously, it's their clock they're going by, so.
Especially if their federal reimbursements are delayed too.
Yes, let's see, now, we've answered some of these questions that I had upon my initial reading of the figures from Bookkeeping Plus. We've already answered about the reduction in the titles for next year. Let's see, and I think we've also answered our question on the student fees as well. So we will spend no time with that. Let me see what else jumped out at me. Well, okay, this is not something as questionable, but we may have forgotten that once a year, and I think it's towards the end of the year, we do have to settle up on the, I think it's Ivy Tech, and is it Anderson Community, the
Yeah.
vocational?
It's the D26.
Yeah, we have to settle up with them on all of the instruction that they gave some of our students. So if somebody was wondering how that got snuck in under instructional outside services, 91,000 more or less in June, when the budget for the whole year is 2640. I guess you got to put it somewhere. As good as any, but that was something that we should expect.
Yeah, and that's actually the largest bill that we have had
Really?
with them. Previously, we've not had one more than about 55,000. But we have more kids that are doing D26.
Okay, well, that may be good.
Yeah, but they bill us 2 years behind, and so it's
That's
really
interesting.
hard to calculate what their calculation will be, and their calculation is per kids they have enrolled at D26 plus whatever their expenses are, and it gets it's pretty messy.
Ivy Tech must not need the money, I guess.
I'll say,
huh?
well, I mean, it all goes to ACS. It's not really.
Oh, is it ACS? Okay, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure exactly who was getting that.
And
but-
maybe ACS pays D20 or pays Ivy Tech something. I'm not fully sure, but so that's going to be a number that we're going to continue to see fluctuate as we continue down these grad pathways and these new developments.
Mhm.
We're going to have to probably account
New
for that.
graduation requirements, yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
And we have some other possible solutions in works eventually. Yeah, we just gotta ride it out and keep playing kind of the guessing game, but know that that number probably will continue to go up, especially as the state school funding would have gone up for ACS too, so they're gonna charge us more. It doesn't actually technically equate to how much time the kids spend over there, but they're getting their certifications, they're getting dual credits, and they're graduating and having
We're
what they
seeing
need.
a lot of AI reports about AI in 10 years. Everybody's not retired will be out of a job. So
It's possible.
I think that's going to change a lot for kids, I think, and how they prepare. So
Yep, and we'll roll with it. They just need to learn how to discern and research well. I've been playing around with ChatGPT for the last couple of months and have had to call it out on some information. One of the most recent fights we had was about President Trump being president again. It didn't believe me, I don't think.
it'll be a third time.
It said former President Trump, and I said, no, he's the current president.
Yeah, he did get reelected.
Can you please update, because its training data is from 2024, and then it came back at me like, no, he is currently one of the presidential candidates, all that stuff, and I'm like,
Wow.
no, he was inaugurated in January, and I was like, oh, my mistake, you're correct, thank you. So,
Yeah, tech
the
works
kids are
until
gonna
it
still
doesn't
have
work.
to learn how to
Yeah.
fight with AI,
Mhm.
and they love to fight, so there you go.
Okay, let's see. We'll move quickly here. Oh, one thing that puzzled me, and Sandy, maybe you can help us here. I don't want to go into a lot of detail on this, but I did notice that there was several negative in the facilities expenses. And I know like building improvements, I think last month it was like 300,000 negative. How does one interpret that?
We're selling parts and equipment.
I mean, I can understand, well, if we bought a wrench and it wasn't the right one, we could return it, maybe get a credit, but how might one look at those numbers? Because they do seem a little odd, although they're to our favor.
Yeah, this is all Sandy's handiwork with the reclassing for CFIG.
Okay.
So I'll let.
If you look online.
Yeah, and if it's
on the
detailed,
charter
we can
facility
spare
placeholder-
that.
Is that really loud?
No,
No,
you
No,
you're-
we can
you're
hear you
fine.
great,
You're
yeah.
good.
Oh, okay. No, but if you look on the charter facility placeholder line,
Uh-huh.
there's a big expense, and that offsets the credits.
Oh, okay.
So if, like
I
Jill
don't,
said, they were reclasses from, related to the charter facility.
okay, yeah. I remember that in your footnote. Okay, so that's
Okay.
the usual explanation for it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But we are done,
That
well,
was
in
simple.
June, we are finished, June 30th,
Mhm.
with the charter facility.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we have to spend it or lose it, I guess.
Okay, we spent every penny.
Very good, very good. Let's see, then moving down quickly here. We established last month that we probably will not meet the debt service requirement ratio of 1.25 times. Year-to-date, probably because of the ERC payment, we moved up from 0.71 to 1.04. Do you think, I don't know, do you think that the ERC payment in May might get us to that 1.25? Do you have any guess on that? My guess is it won't. But, okay.
Anybody's game.
Anybody's guess, so, yeah.
Yeah, it'll depend on the audited financials.
Yeah, nothing was said until after the audit, but anyhow, we don't think we'll make it. And that is an accrual measurement, so you can't compute that easily or directly off of our big cash flow spreadsheet we use. Oh, let's see, what else? Oh, the substitute expense, looks like with just 1 month to go, about 136,000. Is the 65,000 next year maybe a little bit too optimistic, or is a
Well-
lot of that 136 this year, roughly how much of that might be maternity or long-term? Maybe we had a lot this year.
I'm gonna say, so, prior to the budget, or after the budget being passed and prior to pregnancy announcements, I would have said, yeah, we're great.
Yeah.
But you know what, we just keep really working on that APA family expansion. I don't think that it's too far off. I think one of the things that is probably tripping us up a little bit on the finances, when we had that elementary teacher who had to leave due to the housing situation,
Mhm.
having to relocate,
Mhm.
we moved our neuroscience teacher into that position.
Right.
And we got her a long-term sub. So instead
Oh,
of
yeah.
paying for a new teacher,
Mhm.
we were paying the long-term sub. So the instructional expense is down, and
Mhm.
the sub part is up.
Okay.
So I can't predict,
Oh, yeah, who could have predicted that, for
Yeah.
sure. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't think there was a
but
problem, but,
yeah, going into next year, so far the 2 pregnancies that have been announced, they are all due in December. So that does give a little bit of a cushion with that Christmas break for winter break. But babies like to come early, so it's anybody's game. But we will just work through it, and you know,
yeah.
it's
Let's
fine.
see,
Lots of
now my,
fundraising.
my
Lot
last-
of cookie dough sales gonna happen this year.
Yeah.
Everybody's buying cookie dough.
My last point here, let's see. Debt service will go up next year, but of course, the computer purchases are still scheduled for August, I believe.
They have been purchased.
They have been purchased, okay,
Yes.
and we hopefully got the bank loan after June 30th.
Well, yes, because we haven't quite gotten it yet.
Yeah, I was
because
gonna say.
Brad's been a little
I haven't had to
AWOL.
sign anything yet, so.
Yes, but it is ironic, Dave, because I'd been spending 6 weeks trying to get hold of him, and he was apparently in training in Austin or wherever.
Oh.
And I, on June 27th, magically popped up like, "Hey, Jill, yes, let's meet, and I can get you to talk." I'm like,
May
"No, no,
27th.
buddy."
Oh, no, no, yeah.
That was June 27th. I'm like, I know what he's gonna say. Let's meet on June 30th.
That screwed
and-
our books up for a whole year.
It's like,
Make it
I'm
look
not
like
going
we
through
were
this
losing
again.
our shirt, yeah, because of that misspelling. Wow.
So he and I are supposed to meet this week to discuss. Beth and I are also meeting on Thursday because there is also the option of going through the common school loan for funding as well, looking at different percentage interest rates and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
So we could possibly go through that way as well.
How much, we've surely seen that amount. How much do you think we're borrowing or
So
leasing or what?
for the computer purchases for all the students and the staff, including like the warranties and everything, right now that's at 188,000.
Okay.
We still have another probably 33,000, call it, to buy the rest of the warranties. So about 215 is
Mhm.
kind of what we were anticipating.
Mhm.
But the first purchase, and given the complexities of the tariff environment as well, which again, COVID did prepare us for supply chain
Yeah.
issues, at least like that. We had to just go ahead and purchase it. Lenovo was only giving 24-hour quotes, and it took me 6 weeks, or actually it took us almost 2 months to get them to give us one. Because of the timing of the tariffs,
Wow.
as well as their inventory, and everything's changing. I'm like, but you already have them here. They're in a warehouse. And so basically we told the IT company, as soon as you can get them, get them.
Yep.
We'll figure it
Mhm.
out. Just get it done. And so that at least happened so that we can have computers for kids in August.
Very good.
But
Okay.
well, we're working backwards. Not a thing I've ever done it or enjoyed doing at all, period.
Mhm.
But hey, it's the new world.
And then my last point I worked in here, 3 of the 4 mortgage loans will pay off. I think it's July, August, somewhere in there, which will be on the next fiscal year, not this one, but the next one. I came up with a savings over a 12-month, of course, when they expire or pay off, that would be a half year about $179,000. So that's a significant amount, although what's still outstanding, I think, was about $163,000, and then you can add the $215 to that, and I think we're about a little over $500,000 now. So the debt service will come down a little bit, which is good.
Yeah.
And then the 25th Street is the laggard there at going out to 2029, I believe.
You are correct on that.
So anyhow, I had not heard an estimate on that before, but okay. And then let's finish up with the month of May here. Really, the story on the month of May is pretty much the ERC payment. Obviously, the month was budgeted to be about $182,000 loss, and of course with the ERC. And even though our food reimbursements again were delayed, which often happens, everything else was flat. So that basically put us into about $151,000 cash profit, which is good. And as often is the case, our problem usually is not the expenses going way up on us all of a sudden. They usually tend to go down overall. Some do go up. It's you have to analyze all of it. I did note that we had $44,000 in negative expenses there, which you've already explained, so that was easy to understand. And again, I do report the accrual net income after depreciation, just to see how much different it is. Sometimes it isn't. 138,000. Depreciation right now runs us about $26,000 a month, and so that's, and then projected for June. We of course mentioned already that we were going to have about $118,000 expected drop in grant income. Of course, there our question always is, usually we can assume that it's just a timing on reimbursement, but here we may be looking at a situation where it just goes away. So that is now once again a pertinent question. But anyhow, with that drop in there, we will have about a $8,000 loss most likely. So, but the good news is that thanks again to Triple P, which really bailed us out there on the cash balance, and now the ERC, this is going to put us in a much stronger cash position. And if you get a whole bunch of funding cut off, I mean, you can have $1 million reserved, and that's not going to just totally solve your problems by magic, but it sure does help. And so I think our goal then will be to keep trying to grow that as much as we can. And I think we will have a break there with the mortgages expiring, maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So.
Yeah. I would say also worth noting on the bleachers and the
and
other
the computer,
computers,
the last computer.
they'll be gone
purchase.
too.
Oh, they will?
Yeah.
Those
they're-
are 3-year, weren't they? Yes.
So they're all June 1/30/2026 as
Oh,
well.
okay, so that's even more, okay, that's good news. I didn't check the expiration date on those two, or I would have included, well, that's even better news.
Yeah, and our,
So-
I've got it pulled up right now.
Oh,
Our-
okay.
So our current principal on 25th Street is 130,000,
Okay.
and
Everything on those mortgages, I think it's like 5 or 6% now interest on those. They've been on the books so long. So.
yeah, and they will, like I said, everything else will fall off, and then of course
That's
obviously we're
great.
adding
That's
to
good news.
it.
Even better. Wow.
But yeah, and the interest rate actually for 25th Street is 3.7 because of how long we've had it.
Mhm.
So that's a nice one.
One of our former board members sold that delightful building to us many years ago.
Before he was a board member.
I won't get into that though. But
Yeah. So.
That's all I've got. If there's any other topics or questions, Sandy, anything at your end that I didn't cover or perhaps miscovered? Sometimes I don't understand some of the numbers correctly, but that's why we put out the pre-market, just to see if there's anything we're not understanding correctly. We can easily correct it during the meeting. So.
I think we're good.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave, as always, for that. Appreciate that report. So we're going to get a motion to approve the financial reports as presented this evening.
I'll make a motion that we approve the board treasurer report and monthly financials as presented.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Thank you, Dave, as always, for your reporting. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you to Bookkeeping Plus always for all the work that you guys are all doing over there. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, have a good evening. All right, next thing is under new business, 2025-2026 Teacher Appreciation Grant Policy.
Yeah. Okay, so typically this time of year, I give you a policy for Teacher Appreciation Grant, and it's a pretty great time and everything's good. But our legislators have changed how they want to do the Teacher Appreciation Grant moving forward. Instead of giving schools a set allocation and then telling them how to divide it out among effective and highly effective teachers with that 25% differential between those two, they have now turned it into a competitive grant that we will have to apply for. They don't have materials out for it or any of what that will entail, and
That means they're not highly effective actors then, right? Perhaps
I'm in agreement with that. I'm pretty interested in what their thought pattern on this
Yeah,
was.
not very
When you
effective.
say Teacher Appreciation Grant and then make it so that it's selective. So here's the new deal for TAG. They have updated it to focus only on quote unquote high performing teachers. Now, one of the things that they did several years ago, because they realized that iLearn scores were not a great way to assess a teacher, is remove data from the assessment and ranking of highly effective or effective. We were also in agreement with that, obviously, because test scores only show one dimension, right? And if you're only looking at one standardized test, you're missing all the tests that show growth and ongoing. I won't soapbox for too long on this. But what they have done, this is what they have decided to call it. It's focusing on high performing teachers in high need areas. Given there's a teacher shortage, I'm gonna go with that's almost all of them, but given the state's most recent, I don't want to say attack, neglect of certain content areas in the grad pathways, I'm going to guess they do not include fine arts, PE, or those other areas in what they're going to define as high need areas. Now, again, I don't know because they don't have anything on this, but I bet that's the direction they go. They specifically, the law outlines 3 stipends that a teacher may be eligible for, as well as stipend amount and parameters for eligibility. So there is a recognition stipend for $3,500 for teachers who demonstrate high performance in improving student outcomes. There's an exemplary one for $5,000 for teachers who demonstrate high performance in improving student outcomes and serve as a mentor for their colleagues or teach in a high need area. And then there is the exemplary plus, which is a stipend of $7,500 for teachers who demonstrate high performance in improving student outcomes, serve as a mentor for their colleagues, and teach in a high need area. And then it says, by state law, the percentage of eligible educators at each corporation or charter school is capped at 20%. So
20% of the grant, sorry, not to cut you off, for 20% of your budget,
of your teachers.
of your teachers, okay. Just
So
wanna make sure, yeah.
they are now putting in our hands, deciding which teachers that may all be doing this thing are better valued than the others. They are also telling corporations this is a competitive grant, right, which means we may not get it. And it's basically telling the teachers, we only appreciate some of you if your test scores can get to where they need to be, which is then going to lead back to all the cute little, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say cheating, but I'm going to just say it, scandals on iLearn and things like that, because now they are directly tying a teacher's potential sizable bonus to their students' performance, guaranteed on standardized tests. So they're going to provide more information on this model and rubric no later than September 1st, with an anticipated submission due date in December and distributions occurring in March, which takes that away from being the December payment. And we then must distribute the grants to the eligible teachers within 60 days of receiving that. So I wanted to put that on board's radar, but I also wanted to go ahead and get approved so that in case we need board approval to pursue this grant, that we already have it in our minutes and we can already, as soon as they release that, move forward. Because great opportunity to have a grant like this, awful implications, but we would be remiss if we didn't go
It's
for
about
it.
29,000 last year, I think, in December.
Yeah, and so that also, tie that to some of our other funding fluctuations, may tie into the $60,000 in bonuses that we have budgeted for all that. But I'm sure as a board and management that we'll figure out how to make sure our teachers are appreciated.
And that 20% is teacher-wide, not 20% per school, like for the 20% of high school teachers, middle school
Right.
teachers.
Yeah, because
elementary.
we are one school, like one school code, and so for us, 20%, that puts us at, just out of your math, we're about 70 people, right? So 14, 15, somewhere in there, 14 or 15 of our teachers.
Be certified people only, no
Oh, I'm
uncertified.
sure it would be
for
fully
sure.
certified.
Huh,
And you
I
said
didn't
we have
know it
about
did that bad.
70 fully certified staff?
No, that's the
Positions,
20%.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, K through 12, given all of our teaching positions, we have about 70 that would, what I would define
Oh,
as a
fall.
teaching
Hmm.
position. So really looking at 14, 15 teachers.
Now, I had read somewhere that part of the problem was that basically about 90% of all teachers were being ranked as effective or higher. And I suppose there is logic in saying, well, maybe, I don't know, but did that have anything to do with this, do you think?
Oh, I'm
or-
sure it did, because the state loves, and our legislators love to put these great ideas out, like increasing compensation or increasing, like that textbook thing, and then they're like, wait, we can't afford it. We can't actually afford to give an appreciation grant to teachers, and I would argue that, especially with our teachers, they are effective or highly effective by our rubrics. And the ones that aren't, they go on the improvement plans as the state has dictated over the last, 12 years, and they either get better or they don't return. And so I think it's insulting that our legislators would think that our state can't have that many effective or highly effective
There seems to be a
teachers.
myth that there's a lot of fraud and that we have a lot of bad teachers out there. But
With a lot
then,
of bad tests out there.
yeah, I question that. Every profession has some bad apples, you know, so.
Mhm. And
But,
You
I
know.
don't know.
all this does is dangle a carrot,
Yeah.
tell teachers no matter how hard you work, oh, sorry guys, you
Yeah.
didn't make that number, top 14, 15.
Create animosity.
Could,
Right.
yeah, could be a lot of dissension perhaps
Yeah.
there.
And keep in mind that this would be retroactive for their performance last year, so they may not have had the opportunity to be a mentor teacher. And a lot of corporations, a first or second year teacher is not going to be in a position to do that.
Mentor, right.
And it could be a third to fifth year teacher before they could get to that arena. So I won't soapbox on this much longer because I probably have done well enough, I guess. But I would ask that the board approve the pursuit of this competitive grant so that we can at least help fund some of the appreciation part.
Yeah.
I will make a motion that we, as a school, we participate and try to apply for this competitive teacher grant to show appreciation to our teachers that we can.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It's in line for it, so we look forward to when that opens, we can go ahead and move forward. Yes.
And it'll be the best written grant that has ever existed because we're not missing out on this.
Well, hopefully by the time it actually comes up, they'll change it again.
Yeah.
Have a
Doubt
little
it,
bit
but-
more details of the whole navigating it.
I know we as a school and as a board, we're really good at getting creative. So I know that we'll be able to find a way to pursue this, but also make sure that our teachers are taken care of too.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the Title IX policy update.
Okay, I am going to request that be tabled until our next board meeting, as we have some additional personnel changes that are going to happen. So I just make sure it's 1000% accurate before we move forward.
Thank you. All right, next thing on the agenda is the suicide prevention plan update.
Same, rinse and repeat, table that one too, please.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the charter renewal resolution approval.
Hey, this is a good one. Okay, so in your last minute, I handed you things. Oh,
Has one actually been signed?
whose signature is that?
I
don't
That's
know.
yours. Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
we'll get there.
All right.
So
I'll wait till she explains it.
going into charter renewal season, and I know included that in our or in my CEO report. So we are up for a new renewal on June 30th, 2026. And Ball State is still updating their policies and renewal. One of those key points that they are working on is the academic performance framework, and that is to include other measures in addition to iLearn and focusing on growth, as well as some of those not measured on a standardized level factors that do contribute to student performance, some of that being low income status, some of that being school transfers, some of that being some of the SEL parts with the higher traumatized populations you serve and whatnot. And so they are reworking the academic framework. And so I do believe that that is what has contributed most to a delay with this, which not a problem at all. But I know that every time we've gone through a renewal, we have had to express a board-approved intent to renew. And so that's what I present to you today for us to present to Ball State. It says the Board of Directors of Anderson Preparatory Academy enthusiastically expresses their intent to pursue charter renewal through Ball State University following the expiration of our current charter on June 30th, 2026. We look forward to the opportunity to grow through the renewal process and continue our partnership with Ball State. And then that's basically it.
So we just sign it.
Well, we gotta approve it.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. I got a
But,
D down. but-
yeah.
Okay.
The hope is that Ball State will look at a 7-year renewal. When we were up for our last renewal, they had started to do those in 2019, and then the pandemic hit. So of course, going into that 2020-2021 school year was our renewal, and so they're like, we're not going to expand. We're going to go to 5 years, which is what we've had. And now the state, in the last legislative session before this one that just finished, they've actually approved a 15-year charter, possibly, and that's just for the state. It's not specifically Ball State. Some authorizers have adopted that policy, some haven't. The longer charter term we have, honestly, the better financing opportunities we get, and that's truly what it's tied to. Obviously, we like having the certainty of being able to continue and all those things. But the biggest part is when they opened up charters being able to borrow from the bond bank, as well as some of the common school loans or things that we didn't quite have previous access to. One of the things that they put on there is, sure, you can borrow $5 million, but for the remainder of your charter, you have to have it paid back by then. So if you only have 1 year left, you're not going to borrow $5 million in a year. And so having that longer time period will give you a chance to have better financing options. That has also been true with some private financing. So when you're going through a company like the track, that was proposed several years ago. Obviously, we did end up getting it, and we didn't have to really go fund it that way. But one of the first questions was, are you going to finance from the company? And I was like, well, we're not sure. What are your financing options? Oh, your charter. How much time is left on your charter? We can only finance for that period of time, which makes sense, perfect sense. However, that kind of limits the funding opportunities that the legislators have been intending to open. So, obviously, the longer the term, the better is what we want, but I'm
Now,
not
this
sure.
common school that you referred to, is that a new entity or?
No, it's through the state. It's
Oh, okay.
basically you get an advance on your ADM
Oh.
funding, and then you pay it back each month
Oh, okay.
through a reduction.
Is it related to that years ago, that common school loan, a couple million that got us started that was forgiven?
Yes,
Oh.
but this will not be forgiven.
This one, yeah.
Not
Okay.
forgiven. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Now, can I sign? Okay.
I make a motion
There you go.
Or-
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
that we pursue the charter, we show our intent to pursue our charter renewal through Ball State University following the expiration of our current charter.
Thank you. So I got a motion? Do I have a second? I'm sorry. Yeah, second, thank you. Any further discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed?
Sign away.
Motion carries. Nice job on that. We look forward to that charter renewal process, and we'll go forward from there.
Yep.
Ryan has signed it.
Yeah, I already signed it. Yeah.
Should be,
Goes over here.
should be fun. I mean, it's not fun, I guess. It's a lot of.
Thought we
paperwork.
just had our mid-charter review not that long ago, didn't we?
Yeah, and it's basically that process, just a little meatier, but
Little
not true.
meteor, you said?
Yeah, like bigger. It shouldn't be too
I
much.
thought it was big enough, wasn't it?
It felt big enough.
Yeah.
Take it, and I'll make sure she gets it.
But it's good. And what I do like, Ball State has moved to that continuous improvement model versus one and done, gotcha, or hey, great job. So it helps focus on growth.
Have they replaced Marietta yet? Have you heard anything there? She was
No.
with us at our last meeting.
She said they weren't really probably going to post the position until after she had officially retired. So I don't know. It took them, I don't know, a year and a half to actually move her officially into that position after Lynn Black had retired. So who knows?
We don't know who's listening to us now.
Oh, I'm sure I've got a few names that are.
I'm sure they'll have an interim until they finally make the official decision.
Yeah.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the CEO contract renewal. So that's currently in the progress right now is the contract renewal, discussions with that. Actually just got the template, so to be able to make some edits and updates on that, currently in place. I know like I said, we're in contract renewal discussions of that phase from currently where we're at. I think this is a thing where I need to get to at least the contract and to be able to make updates and stuff before we can propose with that.
And with that, should we table it until we get the full contract? I
Yeah.
know we're on a time crunch.
Yes.
What's the
So-
current end date of your contract?
It was
So
It's already
technically,
ended.
It was June,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
June 30th,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I did request to get the contract currently, and I did receive that. So
Okay.
I would like to get that, a goal done here fairly quick.
within the
And,
next.
and Joe, we would like to keep you, so.
Thanks, Angie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been the part I've been
After a
waiting
long
for.
debate,
Like,
yeah,
hey guys, if
But
you're gonna
to-
get rid of me, school starts
no,
soon.
yeah.
No. But I think to have, if we just got the contract, to be able to make the needed adjustments
Mhm.
on what it,
Says.
we need to actually update it.
Yes.
My viewpoint is anyway to table it until those are created, but
Yes.
we need an end date today,
Mhm.
preferably on when we need to have that, because I know Jill would like to have it in her hands.
My goal is to have the end date, at least is this all completed by July 30th at the latest. And that's by the end of this month, from that.
So with that being, then we would need to have a additional
Mhm.
meeting
Mhm.
to, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, given kind of the startup and everything of the year, so.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I would like to table that till then, July 30th. At the latest from that, we can reach out via email to finalize that. But that will get all done and completed by the 30th.
Do we need to have a virtual or in person? Are we able to do that virtually once everything is, or is that an in-person?
We would still need to be able to have public attend and
Okay.
all that.
Yeah, because we'd be taking a vote, wouldn't we, I guess.
Mhm.
So how much,
Yeah.
like, notice do we have to give public? How much public notice?
So we have to publish,
Like,
for the horses, 48 business hours. So it has to go on the front door of our business office area, so that people on horses can come up and read it. But we also put ours online on
Right.
the website as well.
Do we?
We
do
can go
have
ahead
to
and aim
s-
for July 29th, which is a Tuesday,
Mhm.
if everyone's supportive of that.
So I'm sitting here
Yeah.
looking
Okay,
at that,
yeah.
yeah.
We can do July 29th, and we can get this finalized and wrapped up for you.
Okay, do you want to do that one at 6 p.m. still too?
Yeah, 6 p.m. Yep.
Okay.
6 o'clock?
6 p.m.,
o'clock.
yes,
Okay,
6 p.m.,
okay.
yep. And
July
we'll get that finished
29th,
out.
okay. So do we need to make a motion that we add that board meeting?
Yes, yeah.
I will make a motion that we add in a board meeting on Tuesday, July 29th at 6 p.m. to be held here for the CEO contract renewal resolution.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Awesome. Any further discussion? Would you like to add anything else to that about the other, the other stuff that we tabled today? Or you want to table that later on?
Yeah, we'll do that sometime.
Okay, all right. Any other further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, glad we're
Look forward to
getting
that,
that
to
in
get that.
before my birthday.
I know, let's get that, oh, I'm sorry.
No, first of August.
We'll
Yeah.
we'll get that finished up for Jill. I know that's one big thing we need to get done.
Yeah.
From that. All right. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any further discussion this evening? Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting for this evening.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for everyone who attended this meeting this evening, in person or virtually.